Welcome everybody to the Digital Nomad Sessions. My name is Mitch Asa and really excited to have a really good friend and someone who's going to share some amazing tips with you today, all about how to overcome limiting beliefs when we're chasing this dream lifestyle. So let me introduce you to Arabelle Yee. Arabelle, thanks for joining us.
So good to be here, Mitch.
Absolutely, and I'm excited for this. So let me introduce her so that everyone has a good understanding of where you're coming from, because you have so much experience in this space and so much experience building a digital business as well, living that digital nomadic life. I know you've been traveling almost non-stop for like how long? Probably the last 6 months, maybe longer.
Oh, the last few years.
So yeah, someone who has a lot of experience in this space. So Arabelle, through her digital courses, in-person events and retreats, Arabelle helps individuals, entrepreneurs and professionals become the best version of themselves so they can live their purpose and make an impact in the world. Born Buddhist, taught in ancient indigenous wisdom, trained in modern healing modalities, and a cross between Elizabeth Gilbert and Tony Robbins, as her peers would say, Arabelle brings a unique combination of the wisdom from the East and the tools from the West, which creates a perfect alchemy in the work that she does. And today's work that we're going to be doing is all about how to overcome limiting beliefs and create the life of our dreams. So I guess maybe Arabelle, let's start with more of a high level conversation. Why is it so important to focus on limiting beliefs? Like how, if we're not focusing on them, what's our quality of life like? And maybe if you have a few examples of your own life, how you've overcome these or those that you've been working with and how that's transformed those lives as well.
Sure. So all of us have limiting beliefs. It's either we know it or we don't know it, or we don't want to know about that. But if we don't actually look at some of our limiting beliefs, then we become our own enemy. You know, whether it is the freedom lifestyle that we want to live, whether we want to become digital nomads, or whether we want to change the world, whatever that may be. If we don't know what our limiting beliefs are, that could really stop us from doing that or creating that life that we want. So if I have to give some of the examples that I have, one thing that I realized very recently, one of the limiting beliefs, I believe that I'm someone who's constantly doing the work on myself, really looking at the parts of myself that may be in my blind spot. And I like to think that I'm pretty self-aware, but even then, there's lots of limiting belief patterns that I still have that I didn't know of. So one of the things was, this thing where, I just recently became a mom about a year and a half ago. And, all these societal conditionings or the collective limiting beliefs that was imprinted on me throughout my entire life it's actually really hard to live a life of my dreams because I've become a mom and it's all about the baby. And it is true to a certain extent, but I really took that on, and without realizing that was controlling a big part of my life. And that was stopping me from really shining fully, because of all these things where, if I were to really step up, if I were to do things that I want to do, if I were to follow my heart's desires, I would become a bad person or a bad mom. That's like a very general one of the limiting beliefs or the conditioning that I had without me realizing it. Until I saw what it was, then I saw that I thought I was playing all out in my life, in my business, in my relationships. But actually, am I allowed to say certain, not swear words, but certain words on this podcast?
Absolutely. Go for it.
Okay. So I was literally just buying my own bullshit. I was making being a mom as an excuse to not step up, to not do things that I want to do, or to not show up, or to not say certain things, or to not show the parts of me that I want people to be seen. People to see. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, wow, I'm buying my own bullshit. So what do I do now from here? So the first thing for me is that self-awareness, right? And then really being honest with myself and seeing that for what it is, without judging myself, without making myself wrong, because I see that that's where a lot of people do. They do the self-awareness thing. They actually see their limiting beliefs or what they have been doing or not doing, and then they straight away go into blame and started judging themselves, and then they start going in that spiral. So for me, it's like, okay, great. I'm not going to judge myself. I see it now. So what can I do to start shifting? So what I've actually noticed in my work over the years is, as you probably know, Mitch, I'm extremely passionate about doing this internal work. So, everything that I do, like every day in my life is a ceremony. Every day is a personal development seminar for me. So I start looking myself, I start looking at my blind spots, I start shifting myself. But that itself can become a distraction, can become a block in our lives. So then I had to really look at, okay, what do I need to start doing now? Do I want to go down that spiral, or do I want to shift it really quickly and move on with my life? Right. So then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to make a decision to shift it right now. And then whenever it comes up, I'm not going to judge myself and I'm going to continue shifting, but I'm going to continue moving on. So for me, it's a matter of a choice and just making that decision to shift it in that spot, and then to really own that, okay, I have that, but it's okay, because as long as I have that awareness and as long as I stop judging myself, I can continue doing what I need to do. So it can be that quick for all of us, really.
Mm.
Yeah.
100%. I love everything that you just said, and it's such an important point. And I guess maybe we'll dive into the top, like more into how people can actually start doing that in just a moment. But there was a couple of really cool things that you said there. The first one was around like transitioning to be a mum, right? I think a lot of people watching right now are sort of at that age of like 25 to 35 years old, who have potentially been traveling around the world for a long time and actually a little bit scared of that commitment. And the reason why I bring this up, because that's actually on my mind sometimes as well. So like having I guess maybe sharing how that's positively impacted your life since, and that's going to help us overcome at least that limiting belief, and then we can dive a little bit more into the actual strategy.
Yeah, this is a great question, because it is literally a game changer for me, because I never saw myself as a mom. I never thought I would become a mom in this life, because I had these stories that I'm not good with kids, I'm not a mom type, whatever, all of those stuff. But then the universe has its own plan, and then Eli, my little man, he came in with no notice, and then he just popped up, and then he's like, I'm here. So I didn't have any time to mentally, emotionally, physically, or financially, or any prepare for it. And then he just arrived, and then boom, I was hit with that, and then I had to reorganize my entire life. As you say, I travel a lot, and so when I became a mom, obviously, I don't know. I think it's a little bit different from dads and moms, because for mothers, they have to go through the process physically as well, right? Not only the hormones, the emotions, but also the aches and the pains and not being able to do things, and having that baby brain and not being able to think. And then you go through, or at least I went through this identity crisis where who the hell am I? What am I supposed to do next? And one of the biggest thing that's really important for me in my life is freedom. And so having a child is just like no freedom, because my energy, my attention, everything is demanded by this little being every second of the day. So the first year was definitely a blur, but I think I needed that year. Now that looking back, and I feel like I've really come out of it, looking back, I'm really grateful for that experience, because I went through postpartum anxiety, identity crisis, a hit in my finances, all of that, because I wasn't able to focus or do work or whatever. But looking back, I'm grateful because I needed that preparation. And so for those who are living that digital nomad life, or even for those whose top value in their life is freedom, but in the back of your mind you're considering settling down, or even having a child or starting a family or whatever, for sure you're gonna have to reorganize your entire life around this little human being that's gonna come through you. But babies are your biggest teacher in life. I can't believe I'm saying this right now. If you asked me this 2 years ago, I'm like, move on with your life, do it. But now I see that how challenging and difficult it can be. But the biggest lesson that I have learned so far in this process of being a mom And in the ancient or indigenous traditions, they call becoming a parent or becoming a mom or birthing a child is your rites of passage. It's your own initiation, right? And I really believe that I have been initiated into something bigger than me. So before, when I was working, when I was building my business, when I was doing things, there's a big part was about me. What I want to do, what I want to create. It's about me, or I. But now it has shifted. I'm now doing my work, like, in Grant Cardone's words, like I am literally 10xing everything in my life. But it has become more about what I want to show and teach my child. Because I'm a big believer that rather than telling him what to do, I need to embody that because he's learning it. Like, you see these little AirPods in my ear. I never thought that Eli noticed it. But then one day he picked up my AirPod and he took it out and he put it in his ears. And I'm like, wow, he's watching everything that I do. So I need to have integrity with my words. And that means I need to really start embodying what I'm teaching to others. So everything that I'm teaching other people is now like I have to really start practicing on myself. So it has made me become more authentic. It has given me more courage to really step up and 10x my business or my life or my relationships, because whatever that I'm doing, I'm teaching this next generation. He's going to learn, and at one point in his life he's going to get to our age and he's going to start teaching and showing other people. So it's no longer about me. And also by doing this, I'm also showing other moms or other parents or other parents to be what's possible. So I'm not saying this to brag. I actually didn't know it until 2 days ago. I kind of paused a lot of things in my business in the first year of becoming a mom. And then I really started, really putting everything in my business about 6 months ago. And I never actually looked at my numbers until 2 days ago. And I didn't realize that I actually generated $500,000 just under 5 months. And I was like, wow. One, I should start looking at my numbers because I didn't even know. But two, I was so proud of myself because through all those challenges, not just time and money and all of that, and physically tiredness, not being able to have enough sleep every night, all of that, I was able to create this because of one thing, because I want to show my son what's possible. And I was also able to learn throughout that process that it's not all about hustling. It's about really being present in my body and listening and becoming more smarter, not just trying to do everything, but to delegate, not going after the shiny stuff, but focus on the main thing. And basically, just do the fucking work. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautifully said. I love everything that you just said there, and congratulations on what you've done. Like, I've definitely seen you over the last 6 months, just catapult online, and you're, skyrocketing and being seen everywhere. So yeah, it's really amazing to see. The other thing that you said in the sort of the opening part there was talking about that sometimes people who are always doing the work can sometimes distract themselves by actually doing more and more work. And I guess the more you look, the more you find. So I just wanted to clarify something where you're talking about you can make a decision to overcome your limiting beliefs today, right? But you're only doing that when you actually have something pop up and you catch it. Like, you're not consciously going after it. Is that correct?
Yeah. So for me, it's really everything comes down to self-awareness. And when you are really aware and when you are present, everything is about being present, right? So when you are present, you catch your thoughts, you catch your patterns, you catch your limiting beliefs, you catch everything. So obviously you can't be 100% present all the time because we're human, but if we can be present as much as we can, then we catch those little insidious or very subtle limiting beliefs that pop up. And then when I catch it, then I have a choice. And the choice is, do I really need to go down that path? And going into my deep wounds, or going into past life regression and inner child healing and going into 10 ceremonies, or do I want to shift that at that point and make a decision? And that decision is, do I want to continue doing this? No. So Dr. Joe Dispenza, as you know, one of the things that he says that I really love is the hardest thing for us to make a change is not about changing our lives or something along this line, but it's actually about making a different choice that you made from what you made yesterday. And so for me, it's like, okay, if my pattern is showing up, I look at that, I'm aware of it. And rather than going down that path, I make a decision that, you know what, I'm going to choose a different pattern. I'm going to choose a different way of being. I'm going to choose a different way of thinking. And that way of shifting is so much faster and quicker than going down all that path of healing. I'm not saying healing is not required. It is required for certain things, but if we just do that every single time, we're just never going to get anything done in our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. And I'm really glad we could clear that up as well, because yeah, a lot of people just get trapped in that because sometimes it gives you enough of a jump to feeling good that you feel better, but you're not actually making progress. So that's really cool. Arabelle, let's maybe dive into some of the tips, tools, strategies that you have that people can start using today to start overcoming their limiting beliefs.
Yeah, sure. So before I go into the tips, one of the most important things that I have learned and that I'm teaching right now is, yes, becoming aware of your limiting beliefs is really important. But I think what's even more important is, again, coming back to being present in our bodies, because our bodies hold so much wisdom, as you know, our mind knows a lot of things, but then it can be really, really tricky. So when we actually tune into our bodies, then we can actually start shifting those deep-rooted patterns. So, for example, can you give me an example of one of the limiting beliefs that your audience might be experiencing right now?
That it's not possible to have a full-time income and travel the world.
Okay, cool. So I've heard of that so many times. It's not possible, right? But one thing that I would start doing when that limiting beliefs or thought comes up is, firstly, is that even mine? Or did I borrow it from someone else? Or did I get imprinted by the society or the collective? Because we grow up hearing about that from so many people, right? And also being humans, we want to fit in because that's like one of our natural instincts, right? We want to belong. We want to be part of a society or a group of people. So when we're growing up and when the people around us see us doing something different from what they all do, straight away it disrupts their ecosystem because suddenly there's an anomaly in our group. And then it's not their intention to pull you down or pull you back or stop you from shining in your life, but it's actually just their normal reaction because their own fears come up and they try to stop you or they try to tell you things that it's not possible. Nobody makes money from online. Nobody makes money with personal development. Nobody makes money doing coaching, whatever that is, they would do that. And then in that point, what I've done myself and what I see my clients have done is thank you for saying that. And thank you for reminding that, because you just showed me what I have within myself, that belief, and now I can shift it. Right? So for me, it's like becoming self-aware and also being aware that that limiting belief is actually not ours, but it's actually the collective and doesn't have to be ours. So in that point, we have a choice again to whether continue carrying that on or to just recognize it and then drop it. And so I'm like, okay, it's not mine anymore. So where do I go from here? What do I need to do now? So that's what I was saying about moving on with our life, really just doing the work. So the next step is, rather than getting caught up in that, it's about checking in with ourselves and actually asking for support and surrounding ourselves with people who've done it. And just basically asking them, okay, what did you do right? How are you making this happen? Like, what is in alignment with me that I can start doing right now? So you can basically create a plan to actually start creating your dream life. And then after that, you just literally start executing it. It can be as simple as that. And you will notice that these limiting thoughts, beliefs, patterns, it will pop up from time to time. Whichever level that you go, you'll have that a certain level of fear, a certain level of doubt, a certain level of whatever that is, it will come up. And you know that every time it comes up, you're doing the right thing because you're actually stepping out of what you normally do, and then your ego, whatever you want to call it, your mind is saying, oh my god, you're going somewhere you've never been before, it's scary, don't go there, come back to where you're comfortable. And then that's when you can again acknowledge that, thank you for telling me that I'm doing the right thing, now I can keep on going, taking the next step. So as you do that more and more, and those, I say that it's in the little details that create a big, massive change. So just by doing those little tweaks, and it doesn't have to be rocket science, every day, if you look back at your life 3 months later, it will be drastically different from what you were before.
Yeah, so important and absolutely true. I remember it sort of just triggered a memory in my mind of how I first got started, like creating income online. I was living in Sydney, surrounded by people in a job that I didn't really like. And when I told them that I was going to live with a friend who was like making money online as an affiliate marketer, they were like, "Oh, that sounds a little bit sus. Like, does he scam people?" Like that was the immediate place they went to. But that was like the catalyst in turning my life from being like this corporate worker, or my job before that was a tradesman, like, to then learning how to market, learning how to build websites, learning how to do landing pages, learning how to do online courses. And fast forward 4 or 5 years later, here I am after living around the country, traveling around the world, working from my laptop, which has been pretty cool. So yeah, it's really important. And like you say, it can be so easy, huh? So simple.
It is, and just to close it off with what I started with, it was about you just being in your body, right? So as you're doing that, one of the most easiest, simplest, and fastest way to shift is when you have that limiting belief pops up. Literally, just sit down, just breathe, and then just breathe into your body, and just check in with your body where you're feeling that limiting belief within your body. And you don't have to do anything other than just breathe, and breathe into that area, and just tell yourself, it's safe, it's okay, it's not mine, it's someone else's. Now I'm consciously choosing to release it. And as we do it more and more, it doesn't even have to like a conscious work anymore. It becomes automatic. And like I said, after 3 months, it'll become super automatic that you'll be, again, 10xing your life, your business, whatever it is that you're striving to achieve in your life.
Absolutely. The power of the breath. It's something that we underestimate.
Oh, yeah. And it's free.
Very true. Absolutely. That's amazing. Is there anything else that we want to dive into on this particular topic around the strategies and the tips that you have?
Well, there are lots of tools and techniques and modalities that I can share, but you tell me, what would your audience need that I can help with right now and on this podcast that can be valuable for them?
Yeah, no, that's really good. Like you say, it's I think we try and overcomplicate things sometimes, and think that it's going to be a hard process, because I guess we've had these limiting beliefs for as many years as we've been alive, whether that's 20, 30, 40, 50 years, depends who's watching right now. And sometimes I think people think that it's hard to shift that amount of time, but like you're saying, it can virtually be done within a couple of minutes, right? So
Yeah, it
yeah.
is. Yeah. It's all about intention. It's all about self-awareness. It's all about being present. And then, like you said, absolutely true. We overcomplicate things, and we like to do that because then we feel that we're achieving something. Because if we can solve that complication that we created it, then we feel like, oh, okay, I've achieved something. But actually, no, it can be really simple. So I think I would just reiterate that, all the big, massive changes are in the little details. So try not to overcomplicate things. Try not to learn big modalities if that's not for you. Just breathe, just be present. And then in that moment, magic happens. And after all these, personal development seminars and books and ceremonies, yeah, they all have been really, really life-changing for me. But the one thing that I learned from all of those is just literally breathe and be present, and then listen, because there's a part of us, whether it's soul or heart or higher self or whatever your audience you believe in, that part of us is always giving us guidance, and we only hear that guidance when we are present and when we are breathing.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautifully said. I love that. So, Arabelle, what would be some of the biggest challenges or the common mistakes that people come up against when they are like trying to overcome a limiting belief? And like, what is it that causes them to remain stuck when other people are sort of making a lot more progress than they are?
Yeah, I see that a big part is the part, you know, how we have different parts of ourselves. You know, there's a part of ourselves that's afraid. There's a part of ourselves that really wants to create that lifestyle, go out and make an impact, or that's a part of ourselves that's like really driven. We have all these different fragmented parts. And one of the ways that I learned it from Ken Wilber, do you know Ken Wilber?
I do. Yes.
Yeah, so I learned it from Ken Wilber, and I use that in my work as well. So it's about becoming aware again, you know, about all these different parts of ourselves. And then for me, the most effective way that I see work on myself and then with my clients is actually naming those parts. So when something comes up, I would, you know, sometimes I would actually sit, and if somebody from the outside looking at me, they might think that I'm crazy because I'm talking to myself. But literally, I would just breathe, and I'm being present within my body. And then I would ask myself, that part of me that is afraid, that part of me that is saying all these limiting beliefs, that part of me that is stuck, saying that it's not possible, I can't shift it, whatever that may be. And then I would ask her, okay, what are you afraid of? What's your name? You know, and then sometimes I call her the little Arabelle, the little Arabelle that's afraid, the little Arabelle that wants to throw tantrum, the little Arabelle sometimes that wants attention, you know, needy, clingy. You know, we all have all those parts within ourselves. And so first step is really acknowledging and recognizing, okay, cool. All right, little Arabelle, what do you need right now? What are you afraid of? And when I'm present and when I ask her that, she always tells me. But here's the thing, when we don't hear her or him, that's normally because we are so judgmental with ourselves. Imagine if you have been judging yourself your entire life, if there's that part of you that wants to communicate or express himself, it wouldn't, right? Because he knows that you're going to, like the big Mitch would judge the little Mitch, right? So the little Mitch wouldn't communicate. So to me, it's just like this little, you know, bunny rabbit or this little puppy. That's how I see it. You know, if I've been hitting that little puppy all his life, then he would never come out. So it's about me creating that safe space and really communicating to that part of me that it's safe for you to communicate. It's safe for you to express. Tell me exactly what it is that you need. What do I need to do in order for you to shift that, in order for you to not feel stuck? And then when I do that, sometimes you can write it down. Some people love journaling, so it's a good way as well. I call it, what do you call it? Free writing. You just literally write without thinking. Or sometimes for me, I actually hear those thoughts in my head, that part of me that communicates. And then she would tell me exactly what she needs. She would say, for example, I feel stuck right now because if I were to unstuck myself and if I were to take that step, that means that I may lose my friends. That means that I may lose my relationship. That means that I may need to start doing something so different from my family that they will think of me as crazy. And I'm afraid of that. And so then we can really see that being stuck is actually not the actual problem. There's something underneath. Then when we see that, then we can actually look at that and go, okay, so what makes you think that you're going to have to leave your relationship if you were to take that step? Oh, because my relationship actually is not in alignment with my highest growth. Bam. Then you start to actually see what you never wanted to see of your entire relationship, and now it's showing up, right? So then you can actually start looking at that, and you don't need to break up right now. You can just actually, it might just help you to, you know, have more conversations in your relationship or with your parents or whatever. So I would have that conversation and actually start negotiating with her, and she may choose to remain stubborn and resistant, and it's fine. And so if she does that, it's just like a little child throwing tantrum. I just let her do that. And then, but when it's time, then there's another part of me, I call her, you know, the visionary, the driver that's within me. And she comes out, or sometimes my soul, my higher self, she comes out and she's like, enough is enough. We've got to keep moving on with our lives. You've had your tantrum, you've had your say, but now we've got to move forward together. And it's about managing our internal team. And so by doing that, I see that it actually creates the harmony and the balance, because every part of me is allowed to express, every part of me is allowed to communicate its fears, its dreams, whatever it is experiencing. But then there's this CEO, or the, I call my soul the CEO. So the CEO in me finally comes out and then says, okay, you've had your say, I'm going to help you as much as I can, and then we're going to walk together hand in hand, but we've got to move forward. And that practice alone is so freaking powerful that it creates shifts in people within 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and you can do it yourself as well.
I love that. Managing our internal team. That's super cool. Amazing.
Yeah.
Arabelle, we're about to wrap up here in just a second. Are there any final words that you want to leave people with around this topic of overcoming limiting beliefs and then travel to allow us to live the life of our dreams and travel the world?
Yeah, I just want to say one thing. We all have limiting beliefs. I have limiting beliefs. You have limiting beliefs. Everyone has limiting beliefs. But let's not give it power. Let's not make it bigger than what it actually is, and just acknowledge it as, okay, it's just part of being human. It's just part of being who we are in this society, and it is there. But the most important thing is whatever your heart is desiring, whatever your purpose is, whatever you are really passionate about, whatever it is that you're really longing and desiring to do right now, do that. Because by you allowing yourself to step into that place that you've never gone, the first thing that's going to make you is free you from all these shackles that you've actually put on yourselves. And then you become so lit up and you shine so bright that those who think you are crazy for doing affiliate marketing or living a digital nomad life or following your dreams, they're going to come to you 1 year down the line, 2 years down the line, and they're like, what are you doing? I want to do what you're doing. Can you show me? And that's how you actually inspire people, not by teaching, not by telling them, but by being that authentic version of yourself, that courageous version of yourself that really lives, your purpose in alignment with your highest values. And that is what the world needs more of.
So true. Beautifully said. I love that so much. So, Arabelle, thanks so much for taking the time today. It's been an absolute pleasure. And, I just want to thank you for sharing some amazing, valuable information for people at home to help overcome their limiting beliefs. And for the people at home, like, I encourage you to actually do the exercises and take on some of the tools that Arabelle has given you today, because this could be the difference between, living that life that you want to live as a digital nomad or not, and going back to a 9 to 5 when you don't really want to do that. So keep doing the work when you need to, and it's super important. So Arabelle, where can people go to continue the conversation with you?
Sure. They can go to my website, www.arabelleyee.com, or they can go to my business Facebook page, Arabelle Yee. I have audience in Burmese, so sometimes I speak and write in Burmese language, but don't feel disconnected if I do that. I try to connect to the English-speaking audience and Burmese-speaking audience as well. I would love to hear from you. I would love to connect with you. I love talking to people. So go out and live your life. And Mitch, thank you so much for having me on this interview series.
No, my pleasure. We'll have those linked up down below. And I'm looking forward to many more of these chats in future as well.
Yay.